In today's episode, I'll be giving my review, reaction, and recap to the first season of Daredevil Born Again. So let's dive right into Daredevil Born Again. Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the dub cast. Having watched the previous 3 seasons of Daredevil, I was coming into this pretty excited, although I did think maybe there would be a chance of this faltering due to the recent Disney Plus slash Marvel projects, the shows especially. I mean, Secret Invasion, I didn't think that was that good. The Echo Show was pretty mid, so I was a little bit worried that they were going to mess this show up. And in addition, you had the scrapping of all the plot apparently, where they just kind of redid everything. And what did give me hope was that they were allowing the show to be for mature audiences. They promised a lot of gore. They promised it'd be back. I mean, the casting news on this went crazy. Obviously, Charlie Cox returns as Daredevil. Vincent D'Onofrio returns as Wilson Fisk. But then we start hearing the news that John Bernthal will return as Punisher. The original actors for Foggy and Karen will return. Bullseye will return. So after that, I became somewhat confident that this would be a pretty good series, and this delivered for sure. I mean, this felt like basically a season 4 of the Netflix show with some small discrepancies. Like I think you get the BB report, which I think would not be something that they would do in the original Netflix show, but that's okay. Thought it was fine throughout. Some of the world building stuff, like they kind of go out and do with the Miss Marvel character. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but they include Miles Morales reference. They include Spider-Man reference. So I'm interested to see where Daredevil ends up in the grand scheme of the MCU. But just to have this show back, I mean, I'd take that for anything. I think the Netflix show Daredevil was peak. I mean, and so is Punisher. The storyline throughout this season I thought was interesting, where you kind of have, it's kind of like that typical Daredevil season where you have an initial thing at the beginning with the White Tiger, and then as we move forward you get Muse, and then at the end of the season it ends up still being Wilson Fisk. So I did think that there was a lot packed into this season. Looking back at it, 9 episodes, I felt like we were on a story of, a long time during that 9 episodes. Also, you have Matt not being Daredevil for the first couple episodes, which I think was kind of a nice way to reset his character. I think people come into this series and expect, oh, he's going to be Daredevil, just beating the shit out of people all episode. But I think him having reset to not being Daredevil, and then when he comes out and is Daredevil later on, that makes it so much more special. So I did like that part as well. Obviously, we'll get into each episode and what I think about each, what happens to a certain character in episode 1 right off the bat. But I think that twist, it was good. Like that took me for a loop, because you hear all the, we'll get into it, but obviously spoilers for Daredevil Born Again season 1. I really liked Fisk's slow ascension back to being Kingpin again, so I thought that was an interesting arc. Like this season, looking back, and I think it was a top tier season of television, especially for what Disney Plus and the MCU has been putting out lately, and coming in with coming in with somewhat reasonable expectations. I was pleasantly surprised with this season, and I can't wait for Daredevil Born Again season 2. I think 2026 they said, so if they're able to turn this around quickly and maybe do another season or two, I think that has the potential to be a really good Disney Plus show. And I think the amount of marketing they put into this and all the stuff I've seen on Twitter and all the fans and stuff, I think this is a well-worthy investment. So I really liked how this Daredevil season 1 came out, and I'm excited for season 2. Now let's get into my thoughts and reactions through each episode. Starting it out with episode 1, we have Heaven's Half Hour. So right off the bat with this episode, you pick up right where you leave off. We're so back. We're at the bar with Foggy, Karen Page, and Matt. We, kind of get to pick back up with them. They're just shooting the shit, having fun or whatever. And Foggy has to go take a call from Benny, but this was a trap call, and Foggy is sniped seemingly. Right off the bat, you're like 10 minutes into this Daredevil show, and then all this stuff starts happening. You're like, what is going on? Foggy gets sniped. It's like, this can't be real. And then all of a sudden, we see Bullseye. Him and Matt go have a crazy fight in the hallway, and Matt is so frustrated with Bullseye that he throws him off the roof. Obviously, Daredevil's main thing is that he never wants to kill anybody, so seeing him throw someone off the roof just shows how enraged he really was, and how personal he took the potential death of Foggy. I mean, it's not confirmed when he's fighting Bullseye, but wow. I mean, obviously, him and Bullseye have a lot of history as well, but this was just like crazy. And I thought this was like a dream sequence to start it off. Plus, Matt at some point at the end of the fight had like 15 knives in him, which I know going through the season, Matt actually has a lot of injuries that just sort of heal up. I mean, I know he has the superhero strength and whatever, but I don't know. Seemed a bit egregious there. And the craziest part is Bullseye lives after Matt throws him probably 7 or 8 stories down this building. And I'm still like, this has got to be fake, right? Maybe a future, like, flash forward to the future. No, it was real. Our man Foggy Nelson is dead. 10 minutes into the first episode. I mean, what can you fucking say, man? They put you right into it. R.I.P. to Foggy. I'm personally a Foggy over Karen Page type guy, so it was sad to see my boy go this early. I was looking forward to seeing him back with the gang. I think Karen wasn't really a focus of. Well, I know Karen wasn't really a focus of this season, but I think she'll be more involved in the next season. This was sad though. I mean, we watched 3 seasons of Foggy and Matt's bond together. I mean, they're best of friends, and he's gone just like that. So I'm interested if there's some sort of behind the scenes stuff, or Disney Plus, the showrunner just wanted to throw us for a loop with that. But R.I.P. Foggy. I mean, what can you say? So as this season kind of focuses on both Matt's arc and Wilson Fisk's arc, we kind of go back and forth between their stories. So with Wilson Fisk, if you haven't caught up with him, and he was appeared in Hawkeye. He's kind of been this uncle's type character to Echo. Also in the Echo series, at the end, he announced he's interested in running for mayor. So we pick up with him. Vanessa is back in his life, and he has a wedding ring. So they were able to get married at some point, or maybe they were married before, I forget. And here comes the mayor run incoming. So pretty scary stuff if you watched the original series with Wilson Fisk. Like, this man's crazy, so him running for mayor, you can already tell it's going to be a bad idea. Here we go, though. So, pick up a couple years later, Matt is back. He has his own law firm with the girl that Foggy was working with before. Kirsten, I believe her name is, and Kirsten McDuffie. And Daredevil has been gone for a while. And obviously, one of Fisk's main key points on his mayor run is to get rid of vigilantes, which I don't really understand that part of it. I know in today's day and age of X.com and all that like false information you can push, you can kind of just blame everything on vigilantes, but I don't know. Daredevil, obviously, I think he was gone for a while because Matt was reeling from the Foggy death, and also the idea that he wanted to kill Bullseye. I know he's talked a lot about his morals and if he ever broke his morals, so I think it took a lot for him to want to bring Daredevil back. We pick up at the Bullseye trial where he gets life in prison with no chance of parole. I'm sure that'll prison sentences in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, those really last a while. And we continue on with Matt giving up on Daredevil. At this point, I'm like, what is this show even about? If Matt's not going to be Daredevil, like, get on with it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I think the show is kind of better when he's not Daredevil. That we get to see his interactions, especially I thought in the Netflix series, those are the strongest interactions. So when he hears Fisk is running for mayor in his TV, he leaves the pot on the stove, obviously loses a little bit of focus, and the poor fella, I mean, this is his biggest op, is going to be the mayor of the city. So back on Fisk's side, there's a young man named Daniel Blake who captures Fisk's attention with his passion for the campaign and social media, who's played by Michael Gandolfini, the son of the late James Gandolfini. So I kind of like his character throughout the season. We get to see him kind of get more and more involved in Fisk's slimy business while he tries to like move up the rankings of the political committee. So I did like Daniel Blake's storyline, but we'll continue on with him in a little bit. So Matt, having been kind of out of it for a while after the death of Foggy, took it really personally. Seems a little sad to his coworker Kirsten. He goes on a blind date after being set up, and is it? That's not. I don't know. I wrote Tasha. I don't know why it's not Tasha. So Tasha. So Matt still has his Riz. Seemingly off to a bad start with Heather Glenn, but it works, and they're gonna have a second date at some point. So we get to the scene that's been showed a lot in the promotional trailers and stuff. Matt actually sitting down and talking to Wilson Fisk. They catch up at a diner, which is really interesting. You have Daredevil and the mayor of the city just shooting the shit at a diner. Matt is still suspicious of Fisk, doesn't believe that he's in it for the true good of the city, thinks he's up to no good. He says he's given up being Daredevil, and they're kind of both just like, just stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine, which obviously is going to come to a head at the end of this season, but they did do a decent job of staying in their own lanes for a little bit, a couple episodes. So we end this episode out with a sick shot. We have Fisk winning the election, of course he does, and this distracts Matt on his date. Vanessa has cheated on Fisk, and Fisk promises not to cheat on her. So this is an interesting relationship, obviously Fisk and Vanessa, which we kind of dive into this season. Obviously, it seems like Vanessa slept with a man named Adam while Fisk was kind of doing his side quests in Hawkeye and Echo, and he just loves her so much. Like, she's the only girl he'd ever like, so he kind of just forgives it. And it's tough for him to deal with because he still keeps Adam in a cage and all that, but we don't learn that till a little bit later. But I like this back and forth. Fisk has this kind of romantic weakness for Vanessa, so that was interesting. And then once Fisk wins the election, he takes a step out on his balcony, and we get this awesome ending, an awesome shot of Fisk looking down at the city, and Matt is looking up at him. So they will end up crossing paths again at some point. I thought this episode was really strong, really good episode. I mean, this takes away your fear right away that this show is going to be a disappointment. So awesome episode 1. As always, I'll give my favorite and least favorite from each episode. So favorite of this episode, he's going to be a favorite of a lot of episodes. Going to Matt / Daredevil. I mean, come on, bro. He was just his typical self, but that's good enough to be the best. I mean, I love Daredevil's character. Least favorite, I'm giving to Bullseye. It seems like Bullseye went completely batshit, killed Foggy for no reason. At least at the time, it looked like that, and he has no remorse over his actions at all. So that's all for episode 1. Episode 2 is titled Optics, and we start this one out with Wilson Fisk's victory speech as the new mayor of New York City. He gives a nice little shout out to Punisher, Spider-Man, and Daredevil. Obviously, he's anti-vigilante. Annoying, but whatever. So we have a crazy interaction that takes place, who we find out to be Hector Ayala jumps in on these two people beating up on somebody in front of a train station, and in defense of the person getting beat up, he throws one of them in front of the train, and then we learn that they are police officers that were doing some sort of thing to the guy, but that looked a little sketchy in there, and we're going to find out what happened, but Victor Ayala, at the moment, seems to be a good hero because he just saved that guy, but we don't really know the backstory, so it's a little sketchy. Back on Fisk's end, him and Vanessa's problems continue, seemingly, sparring over Vanessa cheating on him when he was gone. Kind of a power struggle, too. She's doing her art thing. He's running for mayor. They can't coexist because she's committing a lot of illegal activities. He obviously is in the spotlight. So back on Matt's end, he takes over this case for Hector Ayala after hearing about him being beat by the cops and using his own powers. Matt uses his own powers to determine that Hector is telling the truth, which obviously is one of his strong suits in character judgment and the way he chooses to be with people. So when he hears his heart beating correctly, he knows he's not lying. So Hector Ayala and Matt will team up together to fight a case in court. Obviously, Matt doesn't have the best history of being a lawyer, but we'll see if he can help Hector Ayala. Now, we've been getting these BB reports, and we don't really know who this BB person is, but we find out BB is this younger woman who is Ben Urich's niece. So they really pulled out all the stops in this show. I mean, you have all the reference and all the um, what's it called, Easter eggs you're really looking for in this series. I mean, they really did everything. So she fills in Wilson Fisk on the police commissioner not being a fan of him. She's trying to dig at a story here, but interesting her role in this season and also continuing throughout the next season. I'm assuming she'll be back. So instead of Agent Mahoney, we now have Cherry, who's the sort of former cop who does a lot of the underground work for Matt and figures out what he needs to get done, helping him out with his law cases, but also with the Daredevil stuff. So in his research about Hector Ayala, he finds out that Hector Ayala has been a vigilante running around town known as the White Tiger. This obviously complicates his case due to Wilson Fisk being so anti-vigilante and his interaction on the train. He was just trying to help people like he always does. So, I don't know. I think we should have seen more of the White Tiger, but obviously RIP to the actor who played him, and then, he'll meet his end in a couple episodes, but wish we could see him more on the streets actually being the White Tiger. We kind of just get these flash scenes, but it is what it is. So Fisk is now has the information that the commissioner is not happy about his mayoral candidacy and run. He goes Pusha T mode and reveals the police commissioner has an undercover kid, forcing him to stay on. I mean, that's just the essentials of it all. Is Kingpin has all the dirt on everybody, so he can just keep him. I'm not sure why he'd want to keep him on. I guess it's a bad sign in the press if your police commissioner resigns. Obviously, we'll have a scene later on with the police commissioner that, I mean, just encapsulates Kingpin, but for now he's staying on due to the dirt that Kingpin has uncovered about him. So to complicate things even more for Matt, his girlfriend Heather Glenn, which she doesn't even know about this for a while, she is the therapist, and she will be the therapist of Wilson, Fisk, and Vanessa's marriage problems. So got to sign the NDAs. I mean, this just gets a little crazy that all these characters are related in this way, but it does happen, and this will definitely play an impact through Matt's relationship. And I'm interested to hear y'all thoughts on Heather. I mean, as of right now, in this time in the show, I wasn't, having vibes, but as the show went on, I definitely developed an opinion. So there is one key witness in this case that Matt is pursuing. It is the person who was being originally harassed by those two police officers. So Matt sets out to find this person because he could be the person to exonerate Hector Ayala, and he gets the witness literally seconds before the police does, and then tells him to go out the back door. He gets the shit beat out of him by the cops, and then once he's like on the verge of death, he finally decides to defend him against himself, against these two dirty cops. Obviously, one of them is the person who was on down below in that train station committing the crimes, and I thought he killed people because he's like throwing people against the fridge. You hear the crack of the bones, but these people are gonna be all right. But nice to see Matt back combat. He still got it. 1-2. So favorite of this episode I'm giving to Matt gotta be bring the suit back, like defending the innocents as well. Least favorite, I'm going Powell. I believe he's the cop. I think that's his name, the corrupt cop who tried to kill Ayala, then frame him, then also kill the witness. Thought that was mad sus. So least favorite going to Powell this episode. That wraps up episode 2. Episode 3 is titled The Hollow of His Hand. We start this one out with a double homicide at Red Port, where we have some members of Wilson Fisk / Kingpin's old gang are jumped by a beast Irishman. Now, I will say throughout the season I was a little bit lost on this subplot of Luca and the sort of old contingent of Kingpin's men. I think they kind of just wanted to put that to bed or give another little side storyline. I will say maybe a little bit of a criticism of this story or this season is there's a little too many little stories involved. Like I feel like we could have focused a little bit more on our main characters instead of these little side plots. But I know, they're probably trying to world build for season 2. I get it. They probably had to answer some questions about what happened to the people from season 3 and etc. and what happened to the old members of Kingpin's empire. Give a little bit of context on Vanessa, but I was kind of lost in what was going on here. So meanwhile, we have the trial of Hector Ayala begins. He is lying right off the jump, not great. And also there's some Knicks slander in here, so I always appreciate when Marvel includes some real world and stuff into their shows and things like that. So hearing stuff about the Knicks was funny. So we have the key witness, who is Torres, who we saw Daredevil save in episode 2. And now Powell on the stand says he does not know who Torres is, obviously after being inside Torres' house and seemingly looking to kill him, while Matt and Daredevil was there to stop him. Now, this was a great pump fake by the show where we have Torres is in a van with Cherry to go get dropped off at the courthouse, obviously in danger to be intercepted by Powell and the police force. At this point, there's a lot of police men who are on the hunt for Matt's key witness in this case. So they even get you on the view on the TV side because you're like watching this van, and they get the van, but it's a fake van with just Cherry inside. There's no one there. They get him in a separate van. So I like that little pump fake. I think they had a taxi. Thought we were cooked for a second. Matt is not the best lawyer, as I mentioned before, so need all the help we can get. And unfortunately for him, though, his key witness now says that he was at home all night. And this just goes to show you how rigged the system is when you have this key witness who was literally the victim of an assault, but he probably got paid out before. They were literally watching him 24/7, so I don't know what happened. But, this is what happens when you're in New York court system under Wilson Fisk, and then the Punisher cops, you're going to get a rigged trial against you. So it's Ayala's turn to go on the stand, and Matt exposes him openly as the White Tiger. This pisses off the judge, pisses off the people in the courtroom, pisses off Fisk because he doesn't like vigilantes, although I don't think we actually see Fisk. But the courtroom's in madness right now. They have a little conference between the lawyers and figure out how they're gonna proceed, because this wasn't brought into evidence and all that stuff. I don't know how the courtroom stuff works. I thought there were a lot of parallels between Matt and White Tiger, because White Tiger also has to put away his mask now due to the trial. He has to stop being a hero, and we've seen Matt have to do that as well through the first 2.5 episodes. And the opposing lawyer in the case says real heroes don't need to hide. I think this is a little subtle message to Matt and also Hector Ayala, who we see back active later in the episode, for sure. So yeah, finally the trial has come to a head. I like how they don't spend too much time on the trials, get lost in the law jargon of it all, but was glad to see the trial come to an end quickly, and also glad to see the result. He is not guilty. Hector Ayala is not guilty of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, or manslaughter, so he's a free man. He can go back to his niece, who we saw in a couple episodes, or in an episode before, go back to his wife, live a happy, great life, and be free. So the verdict gets back to Fisk. He is, of course, pissed off about this verdict. He is anti-vigilante, so this gives him another little speech to go on about. And he gives a rant to the BB report about this. Obviously, the BB report is still doing their little undercover reports on what people think of vigilantes. Do they want them? Do they not want them? Etc. And to end this episode out, we do have Hector Ayala returning as White Tiger. Unfortunately, this will be the last time we see him as White Tiger, because he is shot in the head by someone wearing a Punisher body gear. At first, I was like, no way Punisher just shot him, because that means he's deranged. Obviously, I watched Punisher both seasons. Another great show. Hopefully, they're able to bring that back soon as well. But for those of us out there, for a second, you're like, oh shit, Punisher did that shit. He killed White Tiger for no reason. Then you're like, okay, Punisher would not do that. He has a reason to kill all the people he does. But still a huge WTF moment. Also tease the Punisher moving forward. Keeps us intrigued. Solid episode. So favorite from this episode, I'm giving to Matt once again. Won his case by basically throwing a Hail Mary out there and kind of bending the rules. He did properly warn Hector about what would happen if he returned as White Tiger. Unfortunately, what he said rang true. Hector passed away. Least favorite I'm giving to Wilson Fisk. Somehow working with Punisher, I thought that it was a fucked alliance between them. Obviously, I was wrong. I thought he mind controlled him or something. The anti-vigilante stance I also thought was suspect and annoying. So least favorite goes to Wilson Fisk for episode 3. Episode 4 is titled Sic Semper Systema, and we start this episode out with more therapy between Fisk and Vanessa. Obviously, this is where they touch on Adam. This is the guy who Vanessa cheated with. Obviously, this was a big, momentous occasion for Wilson Fisk in this relationship. His only true love in his life, well, besides power and money and influence. Vanessa cheated on him while he was gone with Adam. You know, she thought he was gone for good, and they were on rocky terms. So, trying to figure out through all that, obviously in marriage counseling, when someone cheats, that's probably the number one thing you want to talk about. So Heather Glenn is helping them through that. We also have Fisk having a lot of stuff to deal with prior to enacting the plans he actually wants to really do, including dealing with mob bosses and going through councils and a lot of steps. He kind of wants to just cut through the red tape and get right to it, obviously in a Wilson Fisk fashion, but you know, this is New York City. There's rules, there's delegations, there's town councils, there's senators, there's people on the committees and stuff. I mean, we see some hurdles he has to jump through this season, but, you know, not the hardest job in the world, really, for Wilson Fisk to get what he wants to be done. So we also have this interesting dynamic between Daniel Blake, and obviously he's working in the office of Wilson Fisk, but he's still friends with BB Urich. He, one night at the club, leaks a little too much information to her when they were out drinking. You know, always a bad idea to be talking about your job when you're drinking. Never know what could come up, especially when you're working or you're talking to someone who has very readily, easily access to the outside world and able to post something and have respect for it. So, of course, BB twists the knife, double turns, repeats what he says about the recycling plan, and now there is a new article out the next morning calling Fisk a union buster, and Daniel comes forward and says, you know, I was the one who put this out there. It's my fault. I'm never going to do it again. I accidentally told my friend BB, like, you know, if you want me fired, I'll quit this team right now. Fisk's like, you know what, you're a good man for coming forward, but if you were ever to do something like that again, see you later. So scary when we see what this guy's capable of in the past season and this season. So on Matt's sides of things, he is trying to figure out what the hell happened to Hector Ayala. He finds the bullet casing, which has a Punisher logo on the bullets. Like, these people are such tryhards that they have little logos on the bullets. I didn't know that was really a thing. He pays a visit to Punisher. Frank is back on our screens. I mean, this season, like, they did it all great with the cameos and nostalgia while still making a productive story. But it's great to see Frank back and Matt's interactions. Obviously, some iconic interactions from the rooftop, working together in season 2 and maybe 3 of Daredevil. I'm forgetting the specifics of it, but yeah. Ask him, he's like, what's up with this logo on your bullet? And, you know, this is the first time they've seen each other in a while, so Matt and Frank share a moment of sadness over losing someone. Obviously, Frank's whole basically story is his losing of his family, and Matt having just lost the best friend of his life, Foggy. They're able to connect for a moment, and Punisher's like, yeah, I don't know what those bullets are about. Obviously, there's like a cult out there worshiping me, and I don't support them at all. But good to see those two on working terms again. Every time they leave each other, it's like we're never going to see each other again, but we know they're going to see each other again. So Matt has made the executive decision. He's got the baton back for Daredevil, and Wilson Fisk eats dinner in front of Adam, who's locked in a cage. So we see the type of treatment you get if you are not on Wilson Fisk's good side, locked in a cage. I mean, it seems like this guy's been locked in there for a while. And I don't think Vanessa knew about this person being locked in the cage. I think she even mentioned in one of the therapy sessions he was kind of off the radar. So we end this episode out with a new character who, at the time I was assuming to be Muse, I was correct about that. He is draining blood from a civilian. Weird Muse arc we're about to go on. I mean, this guy is a little fucked up in the head. So nice little intro to him there. Favorite of this episode, I'm going Punisher slash Frank. Great to see him back in action. He lit the fire under Matt's ass to potentially have him return his role as Daredevil, get him back in the suit, get his baton back, get ready. So shout out to Frank for this episode. Least favorite, unfortunately, I'm giving to BB Urich. She ratted on Bro and used their night out to their advantage. Like, not cool, kind of a dick move to do as a friend. So didn't appreciate that from BB. She gets my least favorite for episode 4. Episode 5 is titled With Interest. So this is sort of a standalone episode. A lot of mixed opinions on this episode. Some people believe this was an episode before they switched the plot and narrative, just kept this one in because of the cameos and stuff, and it's kind of a one-off episode anyway. I don't know. I liked it. Little change of pace. Why not? So we start off with Yusuf Khan, who is related to Miss Marvel, and we get that confirmed pretty quickly, related to Kamala Khan. Unfortunately, that is the one part of the Marvel universe that I've not kept up with. I've not watched the Miss Marvel TV show. I've not watched the Marvel's movie. So I'm not sure the lore of all this. I'm not sure if it's good or not. Maybe if it's good, let me know down below. But he has a Funko Pop of her, which I thought was really interesting and also cool of him to flex that for his kid. And unfortunately, he is still going to have to reject Matt's offer. I don't even remember what what they were trying to figure out here. Some sort of bank deal, maybe a business loan, I'm not sure. But right, of course, when Matt's in the bank, a bank robbery commences, and Matt hears this as he's exiting the bank. He comes back into the bank and grills all the people in there about the potential felony that they are doing right now by robbing a bank. But then he gets a little whack on the side of the head for saying that stuff, obviously. And, we kind of get this whole escalation scene of, it's kind of a short story, honestly, of just these bank robbers trying to rob this bank. Obviously, modern day, it's interesting. You have the female cop who comes in and is like the negotiator or whatever. So Matt is chosen to be able to leave because they ask for a certain amount of hostages to go. But Matt offers not to go so the newly married couple can go instead of him. And yeah, he wants to show a sign of, quote unquote, sign of good faith. We all know he's here to fuck shit up and help out the people of the bank. And right as he's going down to help Yusuf with the safe and stuff, right there we meet our Matt we know and love once again. He takes out 2 of the robbers, and Yusuf Khan's like, what kind of lawyer are you? He's like, a really good one. Flashback to the Spider-Man No Way Home reference, where that was one of the most, that was like the Martin Scorsese when he's like cinema, when Matt came back in Spider-Man No Way Home. Anyways, good to see him re-say that line again. Classic lawyer line. He's back helping out Yusuf Khan in the bank. They were looking for some sort of orange diamond as the prize, and there was a woman working at the bank who was actually in on it as well. I thought that was really confusing. Maybe that's a different storyline for a different day, or a side plot, or another show they'll do just to make some money with Yusuf Khan, because people will be like, I love Yusuf Khan because he was in Daredevil Born Again. I don't know. So Daredevil is back now with the red hood in the streets. He's warming up a little bit, getting those juices flowing again, ready to be Daredevil. It was actually a fake diamond that he gave to the woman, and he gave the real diamond to Khan in his candy bowl, and Khan's like, yeah, thank you. And now, who needs a chick with superpowers as your daughter when you can have an orange diamond as well? So a little bit of a confusing storyline, in my opinion, in this episode, but thought it fit in well. It was change of pace. I think they did another 2-episode drop. Obviously, they did the episode 1 and 2 drop together, but I think they did 5 and 6 together maybe. So I was fine with it. Didn't think it was the worst episode in the world. Thought it was a nice little side story. So favorite of this episode goes to Matt. Obviously jumped back into Daredevil mode a little bit, and he saved all the innocent people at the bank robbery. Least favorite is going to Devlin or whatever. Just being bank robbing scum, getting the plan messed up. So there's my least favorite for episode 5. Episode 6 is titled Excessive Force. And we start this episode out continuing on with the relationship of Fisk and Luca. Fisk gets told by Luca to shove the $1.8 million he's offering up his ass. Who is this Luca guy? Have you not seen Daredevil? Have you not seen Daredevil season 1 where he smashes the guy's car or smashes the guy's head in with a car door because he interrupted his date? Now you're telling him to shove something up his ass? And then Fisk ups it to 2.8 million. You know, I feel like we knew the end of this story before it even started. Back on Matt's end, he's got his girlfriend is looking into vigilantes. She mentioned she wants to do an interview with Daredevil or the Punisher. If only Matt knew how to get those connections and get an interview with them. I think Frank's identity is out in the open, but Matt's identity is not. So obviously he's not going to break the seal for that interview. I think she's doing like a paper, maybe a book or something. She does have a book, so maybe that's the connection there. So we have murals being made around the town now. Before we were torn away into the bank robbery episode, there was a little guy running around the streets draining people's blood named Muse. So now we have a mural of Fisk kissing ass, and this was made of human blood. So if you connect the two dots there, looks like it's going to be Muse. This guy's fucked in the head to need this much blood to paint. Like, Muse gave me I didn't like it at all. It gave me like creepy vibes. Didn't fuck with him at all. Obviously, you're not supposed to, so good job by the show doing that. We have Hector Ayala's little niece comes dropping in. We saw her in episode 1 or 2 or 3. I think it was 2. She drops back into Matt's office and Kirsten's office. Seemingly, someone inspires Matt to get back out there. She's like, the streets are dog shit. What's it if you're a niece? Uncle is dead, and you helped get him killed. Basically, she didn't say that, but she was kind of alluding to that. I mean, we're kind of alluding to that. But it was Hector's fault because he went out there after, he knew the risks. Matt told him not to go out there, so it's not Matt's fault. I don't know what I'm saying. But this seemingly kind of does a little bit of work for Matt to want to be able to get back out there as Daredevil and help the city. Meanwhile, who else is going to help with this Muse problem? It's Wilson Fisk. He puts together a task force of bad police officers, all with the worst resumes ever, to take down Muse, much to the chagrin of the current police commissioner. But at this point, he's lost the plot. It's Fisk's people now. Him having actual police officers, I mean, he's always kind of had police officers on the payroll, but now having a whole task force for him, it's the power, the corruption, it's Kingpin. What can you expect? But it's sad to see it unfold. So once Hector Ayala's niece leaves Matt's office, what do you do as a young woman interested in the case and figuring out how to help solve this city? You head into the dark tunnels of the train tracks where Muse to be. Come on, girl. I don't like to hate on kids on this channel, but it's like, what were you expecting to get out of that? You see Muse. You're wearing a backpack. You have nothing. He's killed over 50 people or something. I know it's hard for kids to think, and I probably did stupid things when I was a kid too, but it's like, come on, girl. And of course, Muse snatches her up, but this is how we get Daredevil back. I mean, this is like the reaction point, right? Because now that someone he cares about, a little young child, is taken by Muse, this gives him the reason to come back. So Muse, of course, grabs her, and it looked like he killed her. He's sticking tubes in her. Obviously, he's draining the blood. This was tough to watch, man. And, this is Daredevil. It's gore. What can you expect? But I hate the blood shit. I can't with the blood shit, man. Ugh. Anyways, so who's back? It's Daredevil. Woo. First time in the suit back since episode 1, I believe. Hype. We get the music. I mean, this show really did a number, guys. This was just peak. I can't say it enough. Great show. So great to see Daredevil back. And on Fisk's end, he gives Adam an axe so he can compete with him. Obviously, it's Kingpin with super strength, beast mode. He's no competition for him. Just kind of dismisses him, throws him back in the cage. I think he knocks him out. Maybe something happened. I don't know. Adam is just no match to Kingpin, obviously. So we get a nice little or sort of dichotomy of scenes. I always say the word dichotomy. I don't know if I'm using it correctly. Where on one side you have Matt fighting against Muse, and then we're interlacing that with Fisk fighting against Adam. So they're both beating the shit out of their current enemies, but both their enemies are still seemingly alive. Muse is fighting back much better than Adam, but Adam's still hanging in there. And then some nice music to end us out in episode 6. So they gave us the bank robbery episode, and then boom, hit the gas. We're back with Daredevil, back with me and Fisk, super strength, Kingpin. So great episode. Good job by Matt saving Hector Ayala's niece, got her out of there. Obviously, Muse escapes a little bit. So favorite of this episode, I'm giving to Matt. He's still just so tough as Daredevil. I mean, unmatched aura, guys. And he has finally returned as the man we all came here for, the man in the red costume. He's back, resuming his role. Least favorite going to Muse, creepy ass motherfucker, as I wrote in my notes. I hope he gets what's coming to him real quick. So that's my least favorite and favorite for episode 6. Episode 7 is titled Art for Art's Sake. And so we start this episode out with Fisk learning of the return of Daredevil, being back, obviously getting some positive headlines and news due to saving Hector Ayala's niece, and also just being a good guy, being a vigilante. Fisk, of course, is not particularly happy with this news, obviously breaking the agreement him and Matt had in episode 1 to not return as Daredevil and for Fisk not to pursue him as Daredevil. So this will shake things up a bit for sure. Back in Matt's life, we have still Heather, still sticking along, and she's starting to catch on to Matt's Daredevilness, but he's able to excuse it due to his blindness for now, bumping into things. Obviously, he's a little bit damaged up from his fight with Muse, and, you know, he's done a good job of hiding it now, but this, in the past, has led him astray. Well, really, his love interests have kind of known who he is. I mean, Elektra knew who he was, Karen Page knew who he was. The nurse, I forget what her name is in season 1, knew who he was. So it's interesting for him to continue this relationship with Heather and her not having know it. Obviously, this kind of leads to distrust, and, you know, how many stories can you tell before you figure out what's really going on? We'll see. So we have Luca is back again. Once again, this Luca storyline was probably my least favorite storyline in the season. But he approaches Vanessa, and she hears him out about a potential change in leadership. Now, if you actually know shit about shit, you know that this was never actually going to go anywhere because Vanessa knows the power Kingpin holds. You're not going to kill the fucking mayor. Some people on Twitter were like talking about how she was listening to him and maybe they're going to go through with it. Dude, come on, get real. So we also have a new patient for Heather named Bastion, and he is going to talk to Heather in the therapy session while the police officer is telling Fisk and informing him that he is the main suspect to be Muse. And we actually saw Bastion in episode 1 or 2, one of those earlier episodes. I'm just saying everything happened it wasn't episode 1 probably, but maybe episode 2 or 3. He was at the book signing for Heather Glenn. He was like, I really need to talk to you. She took him on as a client. Now he's here talking to her in the therapy session. It's kind of obvious that he is Muse, but he hasn't opened up about that yet. And now we kind of read the room and see that he is Muse. And after this news hits, we are escalating in conversation between Muse and Heather. He throws her up against a wall. At this point, I'm like, hopefully she's all right. And then Matt also is doing his own homework, and he finds out that she is the person who his sketches are made about. Obviously, he has this kind of like weird love interest / obsession with Heather. Not Matt, Muse. So Matt does the detective work to figure that out about Heather, heads over there on his A game, but Fisk is also headed over there as well with his task force, so it's kind of a race against time. Daredevil arrives in the scene right before Muse is about to take Heather's life. Let's go. Daredevil back again, and fourth fighting with Heather ultimately shooting Muse dead. And now I think Heather did catch a bullet or did catch a stray something because she ends up in the hospital or something. I remember she was badly hurt from this, but she is the one to kill Muse dead. Obviously, Daredevil does not kill people, but he was able to beat the task force there, pretty much beat Muse. I mean, great back and forth fight. Daredevil's using that little whip thing he's got a lot this season. I don't think we really saw that in the first couple seasons, so interesting to see that as part of his arsenal now. But yeah, Muse is dead. Another 3-episode arc. I mean, the first 3-episode arc was Hector Ayala's story, and then we had another 3 episode arc here with episodes 4, 5, and 7 about Muse. I mean, he was basically introduced in episode 4, kind of did his thing in episode 6, and just killed in episode 7. But Muse is now dead, and Fisk, of course, has the power of the press. He's going to frame it as Daredevil not being there and the task force taking out Muse instead of Daredevil obviously stopping helping the day and Heather killing him. So some free PR for Fisk to use as well. You know, he loves his power, he loves his credit, so good on him for cutting that deal. I don't know how Heather just like went along with that. She's slowly like anti-vigilante, but she wasn't really anti-vigilante at this point. So maybe give her a couple bucks. I don't know. Update to the whole Daniel and BB Urich situation. He threatens her to follow Fisk's narrative or else. Pretty concerning stuff, and I hope BB doesn't really go for this. I know she doesn't because she's talking to people later on in the episodes, but you know, he's getting a little power to his head too. Daniel's getting a little power to his head, so I didn't like seeing that out of Daniel. You know, I was rooting for his character. I'm hoping he can kind of like just usurp power while not being bad, but you're under Kingpin, so like it's gonna be bad for bro. But it was sad to see that, man, because I like Daniel. You know, a little anger, a little, maybe he's got a little bad side too. We'll find out. So we have to end the episode out. Finally, this storyline is over. Fisk set up a trap where Vanessa's like, he's all alone in a restaurant. You should go kill him now. He sets up a trap where he's eating alone at a table in the dark, you know, light on him. And Luca walks in with his gun. It takes a little bit too long to do the deed of killing Fisk because he's just walking over to get to him. And we have Buck, who I haven't mentioned a lot, but he's kind of that main sort of sidekick for Kingpin. He's able to kill Luca and end this Luca storyline once and for all, thank God. But yeah, Buck is a beast. I mean, Buck, that just shows he's down for the business too. Like, he's in it as well. He's got a body on his head, so good for him. And that ends episode 7. So yeah, it doesn't seem like Vanessa was going to listen about the change in leadership, guys. She literally set him up to be killed. So no more questioning Vanessa and Fisk's love for each other, please. Favorite of this episode goes to Matt. He beasted Muse and saved Heather, hopefully fully coming back as Daredevil after this episode. Least favorite going to Muse, just mad creepy with Heather, unremorseful for his actions, and had some weird ass plan set up that I don't even want to know what the result of that was. So goodbye. And that's it for episode 7. Episode 8 is titled Isle of Joy. So we jumped this one out with our good friend Bullseye. Remember him from episode 1 when he killed one of the main characters of the show and just dipped? Yeah, well, we get a little update on him. He's chilling in general population now because Fisk has had enough of him, just wants to send him to Gen Pop, get him over with because, you know, I guess criminals with a huge name and are famous, probably not the best fit for general population. So, you know, Bullseye may meet his end quickly. Don't want to see that happen, but, you know, I just thought this wasn't going to end well for Bullseye. Back on Heather's end, picking up the pieces from that whole interaction with Muse. She didn't think that Daredevil was there to save her. He was there for himself. Now, at first, I was like, what is she talking about? You know, Daredevil's here to save people, save the day. But maybe in some sense, she's right. You know, he's there to save her, which is for him because, yeah, that's his love interest. But I generally think maybe not, because both times he pursued Muse, it was for Hector Ayala's niece, who he was, you know, formerly cordial with, you know, knew her, wanted to save her, inspired him to go after whatever. And then Heather Glenn, his girlfriend. So maybe both times, but those were like the two people we've seen on screen he attacked. So I think it's a tough question to answer. Was he there for himself, or was he there for a greater purpose? I mean, it's the 4th season of Daredevil, so I think at this point he's not really doing it for himself. He's doing it for the people around him. But this kind of switches the perception of Heather, where she's fully like Fisk involved and anti-vigilante, which is crazy because she literally saw in person Daredevil come to save her. I mean, come on, Heather, get your shit together. Continuing on, Fisk's side, he's had his field day with Adam, gave him the chance to beat him up. He couldn't do it. So now he just has Adam. It's like, let's get this over with. So he brings Vanessa down. You have the choice. You can either free him with the key, or you can, you know, do whatever you want with him. Gives her like an axe or a knife, I think. She's like, fuck that, puts down the knife, puts down the axe, grabs the gun, shoots him in the head. She ain't playing. Vanessa's back. I think she realizes she needs him for business reasons. Maybe she fell back in love with him as well. But good to see these two on a duo together. And, I feel like we didn't get a lot of Vanessa's character really in the first couple seasons of Daredevil. I know maybe there was some acting stuff going on, and I think originally she wasn't supposed to come back to be in this series. I could be wrong on that, but I'm glad she's back, and I'm glad she's a real player with her, kind of doing some underground shit as well. So I'm appreciating that out of Vanessa. I'm liking her character this season. Good to see her kind of, she set up Luca last episode. Now she's doing this, killing Adam. She's really got some skeletons in the closet. We'll even learn more about later on. About what she had scheming up. So Vanessa ain't here to mess around with Fisk. She's here for real. Respect. So we find out Fisk was the one who ordered Bullseye into Gen Pop, and now Bullseye wants to talk to Matt. Tough day for blood. Obviously he was the one who ended up killing Foggy, so Matt is not happy to see him in the room, and they kind of just, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second, actually, because they don't actually talk yet. So in the meantime, Fisk is going to give Daniel a promotion in opposition of his camp idea, or of his political camp. He kind of has that woman from Gotham who is the police chief running around telling him what to do, his political advisor. And he's like, I'm going to promote Daniel to become like chief of staff. And she's like, you probably shouldn't do that. And he's like, I'm doing it. I like him. So big promotion for Daniel. I'm expecting Daniel to be a major part in season 2 when it happens. Don't know where his story goes, but I'm excited to see where it happens, or what happens for Daniel. Good for the man, just got introduced. Now he's getting promoted. Also had a huge mistake, and that was rectified quickly. So excited for Daniel. Hopefully he can move up and not be evil, but I doubt that'll happen. He'll probably have his story will be like the challenge of morals and all that. So once we get this meeting, Bullseye and Matt face to face, he's like, Matt, help me get on the outside, be my lawyer. I mean, he must have seen Matt be the lawyer for Frank. That works somehow. And then once Matt gets him outside, he'll tell him if Fisk hired him to kill Foggy, and if not, who did it. But Matt is not having any of this. Slams him on the table, and is like, officer, he hit his head on the table. He's going crazy. Matt obviously is kind of in that war mode where he's not willing to talk to Bullseye. Understandably so. He killed his best friend, so makes sense. Get him out of the room. No deal was ever going to be made between the two. But Bullseye's got his own plans. He somehow uses his tooth to take out the people around him. So he's got the little tooth there, spits it out, has it. Well, he doesn't spit it out. He has it in his mouth. And then somehow he uses his mouth to torpedo it. So the dude's not even Bullseye throwing shit. He's got his mouth on point where he can send a tooth to kill people. Crazy, bro. Bullseye's fucking crazy. Awesome scene. Obviously, the gore continues in this series and season. Wow, that was shit, man. And I saw Wilson Bethel's tweet about the tooth, funny stuff. Actually, I saw that before I even watched the episode, so I didn't have context on that. But cool tweet, cool actor. Great to see Bullseye back. I'm hoping he comes back in season 2. I think he will. So we have the ball taking place where Fisk basically has to go around in corners and talk to people and hang out at some sort of important thing, some sort of important political thing. Heather was invited as well for being their therapist. Wasn't sure if she should go, but Matt's like, I'll come with you, and then he shows up late because they're having troubles. Anyways, what it comes down to, lots of tension between Matt and Fisk in the room once Fisk sees him. Obviously the return of Daredevils, he's not happy about it. Matt's not happy about Fisk's recent actions. And instead of having the Matt versus Fisk one-on-one interaction, Vanessa sees the writing on the wall and comes in and asks Matt instead to dance. And Matt is somewhat crashing out on her, increasingly so because he's getting vibes from her heartbeat and telling if she's lying or not that she was the one who ordered Foggy dead. So little interesting, spice on that. It was Vanessa who Fisk, I don't even know if Fisk knows. He's like, did you tell her? Did you not? We don't know yet because Matt hears another thing. He hears Bullseye up in the rafters. Obviously, Bullseye was able to get out of jail, just pretend to be a cop, whatever. He's out on the ball, up at the thing with the sniper shot aimed at Wilson Fisk, ready to kill him, ready for Fisk to be over. No more Kingpin. Season over. We can just get Bullseye out and then we're done. But no, this show must go on because Matt jumps in front of the bullet that Bullseye aimed at Fisk, and this is a huge what the moment because your Matt's bleeding out to end this episode out. We have one more episode left. Crazy ending, shocking ending, great ending. And once you do a little research, well, not do a little research, read a little about it. I was reading on the beautiful app TV Time because I love that app and I want to shout it out as much as possible, especially for our TV shows. Maybe this was a play by Matt because now Fisk can't do the anti-vigilante thing when Matt jumped in front of him. But the problem with that is that people don't know that Matt's Daredevil. There you go. But just a great episode, set up for the finale, which this was kind of a Game of Thrones style season because you have the second to last episode being great and then the last episode was still good, but it was like kind of slowed down, and well, not slowed down, but like lesser. We didn't get a lot of conclusions relating to the next season. So great episode 8 out of Daredevil Born Again. Favorite for this episode, I'm giving it Bullseye. Thought Matt was a complete grump this episode. Essentially didn't want to talk to Bullseye and was kind of rude to Heather, not to be honest. Like, I'm still on his side over Heather, but thought he could have treated Heather better. At the dance, he's like seeing red and stuff. So I couldn't give it to Matt this episode. I'm giving it to Bullseye. Bullseye was asking for his help. Obviously doesn't realize the gravity of the situation. Didn't get it, but he somehow used his tooth and had a clean shot to kill the mayor. Gotta respect it. All in a day's work. So favorite is going to Bullseye. Good to see him back. Least favorite is going to Heather. Low-key, she was complaining a lot too. Her over-complaining over Matt is why I'm giving her my least favorite. I understand her point of view, but her switching to anti-vigilante after being saved by Matt, come on, girl. So she gets my least favorite for episode 8, and we have one episode to go. The 9th and final episode of Daredevil Born Again, Season 1, this beautiful, amazing season, is titled Straight to Hell. Now, we jump in on this one with the initial deal taking place between Vanessa and Bullseye. Vanessa was the one to order the hit on Foggy. Kinda had to coerce him to do it because Bullseye knows that Foggy's this important lawyer in town. She needed help with a case. Even when Bullseye is morally questioning you, how many people has this guy killed with his freaking throwing shit and pretending to be Daredevil? He's broken, but when he's like, is this true? Like, man, I know there's some people out there who think Foggy's alive. He's dead, bro. I know he'll return in season 2, but it's going to be flashback scenes. But this was sad to watch because Vanessa is pure evil. Like, I thought Vanessa was just along for the ride, but she's joined the evil crew. So yeah, sad stuff there to start us out. Matt is waking up from his injuries and, just got shot in the chest. Obviously, he's still going to live because the show's called Daredevil Born Again, not Bullseye Born Again. But he's alive and he wakes up. Karen, come on, brother. Come on, brother. Huge L mistake. Like, this is Walter White talking about his drug dealing in Breaking Bad. This just sets off immediate alarm bells. He's still in love with Karen, and we'll talk about it later on as well, but big mistake. He doesn't say Heather, he says Karen, and Heather's in the room, so, this probably started to get in the mind, turning a little bit about, what's good for Matt and what's good for Heather, because when you're saying another girl's name when you wake up, sus things are happening previously, not the best relationship indicator. So we move back to Wilson Fisk's perspective, and he thinks it would be easier to just have Matt dead. Daredevil gone, dead hero. Rather have a dead hero than a living vigilante. That's been his mindset all season, so I'm not going to comment on that. I think, for him, everyone is just better off dead besides the people he can coerce, so fine. But I think this is going to be a rivalry that it will continue. Will this rivalry ever end? Because Daredevil won't kill him, but Kingpin's not going to be able to step out of his mayoral position to kill Daredevil, So I'm wondering if this story even has an ending in the comics or something. I know a lot of people are commenting on, well, actually we'll get to that later on. So continuing on, we have this police chief who is disgruntled, obviously was forced to continue working for Fisk due to the pictures. I talked about that in that episode that it happened. And he is now talking to the chief of staff, the political woman on Fisk's side, but big mistake, as we learn later on, because this woman's just trying to do the most to get to the most powerful position. She's an instant rat, but they have a nice conversation. Police chief's like, I think Fisk's getting a little over his head, don't you think? A little too much power for him. And she's like, yeah, nod, just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave, like nodding her head. I thought maybe she was being serious because we see her kind of have these reactions throughout the season of like, is that truly correct? Like, but these political people, man, I mean, we saw it in, I'm pulling mad show references at this point, but we saw it in Succession. Like, it doesn't fucking matter what the actual political views are. We see it today in the U.S. Sorry if I offended you guys. Whatever. No one probably made it this far anyway. So, anyways, yeah, nice little conversation here. Thought it was genuine at the moment, but boy, am I a fool because the political people are just snakes and rats, like Sue Hawk said. Okay, I'm stopping with the references. Continuing on, we have Matt still in the hospital. He's vulnerable. Now, this is the definition of aura, bro. They shut down the entire city for Buck to walk into a hospital with a little, syringe of something that would kill Matt. But Matt is a freaking superhuman beast, and he senses Buck's coming. I mean, the lights are out. It's obvious they're trying to come after him. So Matt's walking around in his robe. He got out, escaped the bed. Obviously, he probably didn't want to be in that hospital bed. I mean, in season 1, I remember he was getting stitched up by that nurse. Probably doesn't want to be in vulnerable places like hospitals, and in these shows, terrible shit happens in hospitals. So good job on Matt escaping Buck's assassination attempt. It was funny to see Buck walk around with like the little get well soon bear, and then there's just like a fucking syringe under it. Anyways, continuing on. We are back in Matt's apartment. He escaped, got out. Who's waiting for him? But Frank. Frank is back. Love the little back and forth they have it with each other, little razzle dazzle. That's what good friends do. They fight back and forth. And then the task force is obviously converging on Matt's apartment. And this is a great hype fight scene between Daredevil and Punisher trading licks with the task force. Obviously, Daredevil's upset with Frank for killing people. He doesn't believe in killing people still. This annoys Frank a lot as well. He's like, just kill him, end them all. Obviously, this will be continuing to be their dynamic of how to handle their opponents. So they escape, they jump out of the window, and who's in the street, ready with a whip, Uber shared drive, who's there, 5-star rating, it's Karen W, not her name isn't W, it's Paige. I'm just saying she's a W for pulling up to give the boys a ride, and then she helps Matt find this file that Foggy had, because that's the reason Foggy was killed, because he had something to take down this Red Hook operation, or Red Port, and that's why Vanessa ordered the hit on him. So Matt, of course, is interested in what that file has to say. Karen helping him give a look for that, and Frank is just like, drop me off at my house. This is a shared lift. Like, I paid you to drop me off at my house. I ain't coming to no fucking looking for files. I kill people. That's it. So he doesn't actually get out of here, and he gets taken down by a million cops and then taken captive. Obviously, he's able to fight back a little bit, give a little bit of Punisher action, but he's taken captive by the Punisher freaks, the people who are like hardcore his fans, and he's hit over and over again. He's like, you guys are pathetic losers. Obviously, this is a great Frank scene to see him, just shit. These people like are sitting in a circle with his logo on all of their police uniforms, and he's like, you guys are fucking clowns. That was amazing. I love John Bernthal. I love Punisher. We need more. Give us Punisher Born Again season. Like, fuck, man. I love Frank. Obviously gets the shit beat out of him after, but it's Frank. He ain't going nowhere. So Sheila, sorry, that was the woman's name. I had it in my notes and just didn't say it. She rats on Gallo, the police chief, to Fisk, and says, he's making moves against you. He says you're doing too much. And now the person who picks up Gallo, I guess the police chief has a driver, which I guess in New York City that would make sense. This driver is working for Fisk, was recently converted to be part of Fisk's team. And so we get Gallo. This will be the scene that sticks with everyone's head, man. Gallo arrives. Fisk has got his whole crew in a basement underground, and then Fisk just yeets him with a backhand, and then just starts crushing his head. He tore his face apart. Oh, like, I'm gonna see that shit in my dreams. I'm gonna see that shit when I think of this show. Just the crushing gore, man. But this is what we signed up for Daredevil. R.I.P. to Gallo. I mean, at this point, Fisk just has infinite power. He just snapped the head of the police commissioner. Fuck, man. Oh, brutal. Brutal. So R.I.P. to Gallo. Fisk is becoming a dictator off being the fucking mayor of New York City. I don't know. I'm cursing so much about this last episode. It's great. That's why. Ending it at our things start to simmer down here after this. So Matt, of course, is being now overreactionary, as we've come to somewhat expect out of him. He's like, I'm going into Redport now, Red Hook HQ. I don't know if it's Red. I think it's Red Hook. Obviously, there's like a million cops there. He's gonna have no chance. Karen's like, dude, let's come up with a plan here. There's no really rush. Fisk is just gonna rule the city. Like, doesn't mean shit. We got to figure out what to do. And he says the key line that will have the Marvel TikTokers, the Marvel YouTubers fawning for the next couple months. We need an army. That's all he had to say. I've already seen the Spiderweb man involved. That's what I was going to mention earlier. There was a Miles Morales reference earlier on, too. We have yet to see a live action. I would be down for a live action Miles Morales debut in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. That'd be fun, right? I mean, he's only been in the game. I mean, he's kind of in his own. I don't know if the animated version's in the MCU, but there's like different multiverses and shit. That could be a different universe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you have the whole Defenders crew as well. I think, spoiler alert for season 2. I'll let you go for a second and then I'll stop talking about this in 20 seconds. Okay, so it looks like Jessica Jones will be on season 2. There were scenes being filmed and they saw that. Okay, spoilers over. Anyways, this army will have the people going. Like, obviously, you have the whole classic Marvel argument that everyone says with the Eternals about how there was shit in the sky and in the ocean and no one said anything about it until, like, Captain America, Winter Soldier, or not Winter Soldier, Captain America, Fallen Order, whatever the fuck the new movie is called. But yeah, I mean, this will get the people going. And, he already has Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, the Defenders. Who else could he get? Spider-Man. I don't know who else in New York City adjacent, but Army is coming, so expect some more cameos in season 2. Heather is made a job offer to join the Mental Health Commission for Fisk. This made me just roll my eyes, but of course she accepts. So another thing that was mentioned about season 2 is that Heather is Matt's ex, so their relationship is not continuing on into season 2, which is no surprise. The writing was kind of on the wall there, but just eye roll at Heather. Continuing on, we have Fisk essentially enacting martial law. There's a curfew at 8 p.m., which is early, but, the sun sets around then in New York City. He has all of his opponents. People were saying this is vigilantes, but there's no way there's like this many vigilantes. I think it's just all of his political opponents and all of his opponents in life in literal cages, including our boy Punisher is locked up in a cage. So it's a doom and gloom finale, but it sets up really well for season 2. Matt's got the crew lined up in Josie's building. His army, it's just freaking him and what's the guy's name? Crap. I'm forgetting the cop. It's maybe with a C, Creek or something. I forget. But Karen's there. The woman police officer who's negotiating the bank stuff is there. Some good cops, I'm assuming. Oh, Cherry. Sorry. So Cherry, Karen, woman police officer from the bank heist episode. Good peoples is in there. And, Josie's is serving up some drinks, but we're going to need some more people. We're going to need some help. And that's it for the season 1. But luckily, Disney Plus has the skip credits bar because I've never seen a skip credits bar. It's always watch again. And I forgot this is Marvel Disney with the credit scenes, whatever. You know my feelings on that. Our boy Frank meets a police officer, goes to shake his hand, boom, grabs him. Looks like he's going to escape out of that cage. So Frank will join the army. You're going to need a little more help, though. Frank was taken down by that task force. So that's it, man. Finale. Awesome finale. Awesome episode. Awesome season for sure. So favorite of this episode, I'm giving to Matt. Did it all. Realized from Karen that it wasn't worth going for it. He's shown over the years to be able to be calm, be cool, be collected. So it was good to see him be calm and not risk it all to go do that Red Hook thing. Least favorite, given to Fisk. Just too much this episode. Too much, brother. The killing of Gallo was physically, mentally jarring. Martial law also, and becoming the dictator of the city. We gotta look out for Wilson Fisk in season 2, bro. So yeah, that's Daredevil Born Again season one. Obviously, as you can tell by my tone, like this was a classic Daredevil season. Led you right up to the end, got you excited. I'm ready for season two. I'm loving the fact that we're getting it in 2026. They realize that what they have, they're going to capitalize on it, and we don't need 2 to 3 years to make a TV show. Hence, everyone else in the world, House of Dragon, Severance, White Lotus. You can make shows fast if you have your shit together. So I'm so excited to see Daredevil Born Again season two. We'll be back in 2026 with a season two recap and review. I love the show. I love Daredevil. I'm so glad to my friends who introduced me to Daredevil. R.I.P. to Stick, R.I.P. to Gallo, R.I.P. to Foggy, frickin' Nelson, man. What a season. Wow. Just wow. So yeah, I love this season. I thought this was the best project Marvel's put out in years. I mean, the only thing I could really compare it to is Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's kind of different because movie. I think this is easily the best show, best season. My other favorite show is Moon Knight. If anyone's wondering, this is night and day, guys. Daredevil back. So excited. So excited to see who joins the army in season two. What are you guys looking for in season two? Did you like this season? Are you not as high as it? Are not as high on it as I am? I'm so excited. I can't even stop talking about it. So, videos to follow this one. We have Daredevil tier list for Born Again. Hopefully, there's enough characters. I didn't even research it, but if there isn't, then I won't be doing a tier list. But if there is, expect a tier list following this video. Movie reviews. We have Backdraft. We have Hunt for Red October coming up. Mock draft. Should have done a live stream a couple days ago with my friend. If not, I posted a video by myself giving my mock draft for the NFL thing. Did a stream last week about the NBA. TV shows. We have Severance season 2. Still have to do Severance. Other shows ending quickly, so worked hard on this White Lotus review for it to get 2 views. Guys, go check it out, please. And then Daredevil Born Again. Had to do it here. So Severance. Expect in the future. Expect Penguin as well. Like I'm saying, guys, the content's going to keep coming, so you might as well just subscribe so you're ahead of it. Click the bell. Some people don't know when I go live. If you click the bell, you can figure out when I'm going live, guys. So thank you all for sticking to the end of the video. I appreciate you. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, join the Dubcast Nation, and as always, be easy, y'all.